So if you want a responsive table, you can also make that also. So what responsive table is when it goes outside, so it provides an horizontal scroll for the table. So that class is called table responsive. Now the table syntax remains the same, but it has certain classes. So if you want borders, you want to provide border class. When by default it doesn't have by default it doesn't have any borders and all. So if you provide a simple table like this, it will look like a table without any border. Okay, so you can see it doesn't have any border. So but if you add yeah, now you can see the table has borders. The same way, if you want, like generally when you have large tables, you want alternate rows to have different colors so that it is much more easy to read. So the class is striped. So again, all the things are provided in a documentation note. So you can see every alternate row has a different color. I'm not doing anything new. I'm just telling you all the options that are available here. So in the same way, if you want to make the header dark, so you can use t-head dark. In the same way, this is striped. This is border table, which I discussed with you. Mostly use these kind of tables. If you want borderless, you have to provide borderless, and that's also there should be one thing. Yeah, if you use table small, so the spacing between them goes less. So you can see they become a bit more compact, and table dark will make it look dark. So these are the general options which you use, and it also has contextual presses. So for any row, if you want to make the color change, you can use the same colors convention. Table primary, secondary, success, danger, warning, info, light, dark. So you can also do an instead of row, you can also do for particular TDs. You can do it for all the things. Okay, so again, so if you want for dark table, you can use BG primary, BG success, BG warning, BG info. Again, all these things are the same which you have learned yesterday. So this is the use case of tables. Again, so one of the things I said, tables can be made responsive. So you can see after this, because you put a responsive class, they become horizontally scrollable. So because you put all of them in a table responsive, so that is a behavior. So I mean, you might have seen in mobiles, like if any long tables, you scroll this side. So that's it's a horizontal scroll, because it's not generally suggested to bring the tables down. So that's the thing. And again, so there's something called Navbar. So again, so and whenever you look at any of the websites, you look at something called Navbar. So this top one is called basic navigation bar. So most of the website have navigation bar like this one. This not most, almost all of them have navigation bar, and they generally use it only once, so you don't have to remember the syntax and all. So you don't use navigation bar. I mean, it's there as a header, and the template is same used across all the websites. So so this is the syntax for the navigation bar. So as I said, as you can literally copy paste, and then it kinds of works. So there is nothing much that needs to be mentioned, but you need to understand the terminology. So the main important part is the terminology. So so you can see Navbar. So if I make it dark, becomes dark. Okay. Okay, BG primary, BG primary becomes blue and all. So so this is the way, and then there are certain properties which you can use for Navbar. So what are the properties is whether you want yeah, so yeah, placement. So this is what you need to understand. So if you make it fixed top, it will be fixed on the top of it. If you make it so if you make it fixed top, you can see it as it's there on the top, and if you make it fixed bottom, so it will be fixed at the bottom. So you can see it's at the bottom. So if you want to like build something where it is at the bottom, so this is automatically taken care by responsive classes. Like if it expands, it gets open, and these things are visible because of the Bootstrap inbuilt CSS functionality. So to make this thing work, you just have to maybe add jQuery and Bootstrap. So just have jQuery in JavaScript. I'm adding jQuery and Bootstrap. Okay. Oh, so it doesn't have any. Let me add from here. So again, so this is the JavaScript file for 4.5. So okay, that's it. So now it should work. So you can see this kind of behavior. As soon as you include the JavaScript, jQuery and JavaScript part, it will be visible. So you don't have to worry about writing your own JavaScript. These drop downs and all will start working. So these are the JavaScript things that like Bootstrap provides. So let's look at some of the other things. So the next thing we are going to look at is pagination. So whenever you are building something, you might have heard across pagination. Like whenever you visit any website or any application, so it has something called pagination. So like, but if you want to create these kinds of elements and all, so you can use the inbuilt pagination classes. It makes them look like this. So the functionality you have to build, it's just the UI which these things provide. So if you write this kind of code, I mean, because of the inbuilt jQuery, you will be able to, not jQuery, Bootstrap has the CSS to make them look like the pagination links. And anything which you want to make it highlighted or the current page, you have to add a class called active. So if you add a class called active, or let me look at it. Page item, yes, active. This is active only. Oh, I have to add it to page item. So anything which you add it to page item, so it will be highlighted, indicating that that is the current page that's been selected. So again, so these, I even look like I see, I don't remember all these things because these are the things which you are used very, I mean, not so frequently. So you can, the thing you should understand is you can refer to documentation and then you should know how to use them. So that's the thing. So this is called the pagination. And like the next thing we are going to look at is badges. So what are badges are, like whenever you are working on any application, you might have seen these kinds of items or these kind of UI where these small labels have been like or these kind of things. So these are called badges or pills. Again, so if you want to make it look like this, all you have to use is the badge. If you don't put pin, so it looks like a pill. So that's why it's called a pill. It has completely rounded edges. So it's called pill. If you don't want, if you wanted a normal badge, you don't have to add the pill class. So again, the color convention is same: primary, secondary, success, danger, warning, info, light, dark. So the same is the case with pills. So primary, secondary, success, info. So these kind of things are very helpful when you want to, let's say, put, let's making a. I think everybody use some social media where you can see unread messages, number of 4 and all, and this can be also used in headings. Like let's say with this, I mean, you can see this kind of scenario where someone like you want to put a new label. I mean, so this is secondary. If I make it danger, you will see it in red. So again, so the same convention, or if you want to say maybe offer, and also let's say you want to say with green color and all, you can use these kinds of badges, which looks like some so secondly, I will make success. Okay, so you can see like again, I'm repeating this multiple times. The color convention is the same. So primary, secondary, success, danger, warning, info, light, dark. So these are same things for tables. These are the same things for buttons, same things for colors, background colors, badges, everything follow the same convention. So you don't have to remember all these things. So that's why I will do. So you just have to refer one, and then you'll be able to change the colors and you will achieve all the things. So these are called badges. Now the next ones all called breadcrumbs. I don't know how many of you pay close attention to any of the websites. I mean, you pick up any website, let's say you use Mantra and all. So again, they customize it based on the things. So you need to understand what breadcrumbs are. So these are all the technical terms you need to understand how to use. You can refer to documentation because these are used very, and it's the convention is the same. So these are called breadcrumbs. So it shows from the home location how you reach here. So home, clothing, men's clothing, sweatshirt for one. So these are called breadcrumbs. So again, Bootstrap provides basic breadcrumbs which you can use. So whenever you want to use something like home, library, data, or whenever you want to use this kind of UI, you can use the breadcrumbs. And again, so it's mostly used for any of the sites which have many pages. So as a user, you'll be able to see and understand where I'm lying. So I'm by seeing this breadcrumb, you'll be able to understand. Okay, I'm in sweatshirts for men, or if I go to Chris section, ethnic wear, so you can say it says okay, home, clothing, girls clothing. I don't know what this is, something. So these are called breadcrumbs. So you should. So most of the UI frameworks provide this option of breadcrumbs. Uh, that's one of the things you can look into it. And the final things around these things are called alerts. Let's say some of the times you need to show some messages. What is it? Yes. And let's say maybe some banners, small banners of offers, or a warning saying that you have exceeded your limit, or all those things. So these are called alerts. So this is how you use them. Or if you want to use a bigger one also, if you can use a bigger one. So let's say you might have seen these kind of messages maybe in any other, where maybe after shopping shopping cart of the successful purchase, or after it the payment failed, they will show an alert saying payment failed or something. So again, these follow the same convention of uh, the classes, which is success, primary, secondary. You can see, okay, this is success. Now it says if you change it to danger, it becomes red. So you can see this kinds of alert being shown and many of the sites. And also this is all about the, I mean, this is, you don't have to remember, again I'm remembering, you don't have to remember all these classes, you can just refer to documentation, and whenever you want to use it, you need to know how to use them. So that is what I'm trying to make you understand today. Again, it's an extensive list. There's so many things, and every with new version they add more and more. So you need to understand how to, like, I think pretty much sure with version 5 they're adding more things. With version like as they grow, they keep on adding new components. Again, there are many more things which they keep on adding, so you should be able to be comfortable. And I think Bootstrap's documentation is pretty clean and simple and understandable than many of the documentation. So you straightly use it from the documentation, and it's mostly works. I mean, not mostly, it's guaranteed to work because they keep their doc up to date. Just make sure that you are using the right version of the documentation, whatever the version of code you are using. So, so the next things we are going to look at are JavaScript components. So typically they work with JavaScript and jQuery library, but don't need jQuery or understanding of jQuery to make them work. So let me show you what I mean by it. So I'll just show you how they work. So for that you need to import both the Bootstrap, and in JS you need to import jQuery. Okay, or if you are using like on your computer, you can just use this thing. So getting started, you can put these links. This is the jQuery, and it needs some other library called Popover and the Bootstrap. So don't use it from here because they have the Bootstrap here. I think library is 5.0, so that is kind of the newer one, which it's in still not released. It's in alpha. So I'm just going to put this part. Okay, now we have all the things that is necessary for the JavaScript components to work. Let's understand like components. What are these components? First ones are models. So it's called model. Basically, in any of the UI framework, basically so this is how you have to use jQuery if you want to make it work, but you don't have to write this code because the Bootstrap has Bootstrap's JavaScript library already has some code. If you write with some convention, it works. So this is a model. Basically, model is nothing but a good-looking pop-up, like in terms. So if you want to launch a model, so all you have to do is you have to add this data. So data toggle model and data target. So they wrote an ID example model. So whatever the ID they write, so this is example model, it gets open. So let me show you what I mean here. Okay. So you can see that the model being launched. Now this is example model. So this is, let's say, model 1. And I'll say copy this and say example model 2. Now if I say launch this, model 1 is getting launched. I create one more button. In the data target, instead of example model, I'll say example model 2. Now launch model 2. So if I click this, okay, it didn't get refreshed. Or it has model 1. Sorry, it has model 1. Okay, you can see it will say model 2 gets launched. So in this way, you can you can launch these kinds of pop-ups. And again, so these has many other things. So if it's fade, so it looks like fading. So if you remove the fade class, it directly comes So that's one of the things. So fade will, so you can say it looks the fading effect, and again these also have classes. So if you want to make them okay, so okay, if you want to make them vertically centered, so you can make them vertically centered with this class. So model dialog centered, it okay. So you put this class. Again, I tell people that it's all about using classes. So this is at the top, this should be at the vertically centered. The same way, if you want to make this large and all, so it has different sizes. So inside this model, you can use grids and also yeah. So this is the default one you are seeing. There are 3 more sizes: SM, LG, and XL. So let's say if you put model SM, so yeah. So if I put model XL, so it would be large, extra large. We put that model. Case. Okay, I have to put it to dialog. So sorry. Again, like I said, I don't remember all these documentations because at one point they become large. So I just try to refer to the documentation and try to do it. Yeah, it's large, extra large. If it's small, you'll see a very small solid model. So this will help you. So again, you can see you didn't write any JavaScript code. The inbuilt JavaScript code of the Bootstrap JavaScript library will take care of it. So those are the things which you need to understand. Now the next thing are tooltips. So what are tooltips? Tooltips are these kind of things which you see whenever you want to show some extra information on for the users. Again, so these yeah, so the placement you can control with data placement. What is a whatever the title you write, it will be shown. So let's say you put the title. So let's say Masai School. So you can control on this. So you can see these things are again. So just a moment. So if you want to enable it, you can just copy paste this. These things are, I think, not enabled by default. So okay, here you can see Masai School on left. If I make it bottom. So if you want to use ToolTips, just make sure that you paste the JavaScript code. So it's Masai School on bottom. Now again, you can change the direction of it wherever you want to show. These are very small things which you can show. Let's say these are mainly used for abbreviations. Let's say whenever you are saying, let's say, I don't know, like you might have seen some extra information on some button, and like with a question mark, they show extra information. So these things are controlled by that. Those are the tooltips. A different variation of this is called Popovers, where you have a bit more content. So this is how the Popover will look. So again, so if you want to enable them, so you just have to use this kind of code. Again, this can be put. You don't even have to understand. So whatever the element that has data toggle popover, it will be it will come into place. So you can see now it's a popover. It's in bottom. So the title is Masai School, and if you want some text inside it, it has data, I think content. So now you can see, yeah, with whatever the thing you put in data content, it will be visible in this thing. So this is the title is the main heading. So this is like advanced version of tooltips. So these are called popovers. So again, so these will be these will be stay on the page until unless you click them. So you can use it for showing much more extra information. Uh, Again, the same things on so if you put uh, uh, this thing data trigger focus, so what happens is when you focus anywhere else, okay, strange. So when you click anywhere else, it goes away. Otherwise, it will not go away. So when you want them to go away, when you click anywhere outside, you have to put data trigger focus. Now these all called collapse, or some people also, I mean, some of the times you also call it accordion. So what is collapse is, like you can see these kind of things. When you click on it, it expands. When you click on it again, it kinds of goes away. So the typical use case is also called an accordion. So this is how an accordion looks like. So basically, you might have seen these kind of scenarios or these kind of US. So this is called an accordion. So whenever there are multiple items, you have large content, you want to show only one part of the content at one point. So you use an accordion. Again, so they generally work out of the box. You don't have to provide any JavaScript if you just use this syntax. They work. I'm just going to explain you what is this syntax. So you can see these accordions are working. So just to give a kind of thing. So you have a class called accordion and okay. So so these are the cards which you are putting. So now where is the heading? Yeah. So this is the heading. So collapsible group item 1. Now, so whenever you click on it, so it will be shown. This thing will be shown. So again, it's collapse 1. So the data target should be there with collapse 1. So make sure that the data target with that hash collapse 1 should be there. The same is the case with item 2. So, but when it's open, so you can see there's extra class called collapsed. So that means this thing are collapsed. But this button, yeah, this button doesn't have collapsed. So it also has show. So if you want to make the second one show by default, let's say I save it. So whenever you open, generally in an accordion, one thing would be visible. So it is controlled by show and collapse. So so you can see this is show and this. So let's say I add a class called collapse and I remove the show. So it is collapsed. If I add a class called collapse and remove the show, you can see this is not visible. If I want to open the second one by default, so I have to add that class called show. So whatever the item having a class called show, that is shown by default. So now other things just fall in place. So this is called accordion. Typical use case is when you have much more content, you can use this accordion. So on collapse, the next part is navs. So these are like tabs, or all you can also call them as tabs. So you can see all these kinds of behavior. So it can be either vertical and all the things. So again, when you click on it, just what looking for the yeah no yes. Yeah, so these are the tabs behavior. So it every tab should have two parts of it. So if you want to make tabs, so or if you want to just make links, you can use these links. But if you want to make them work as tabs, it has li elements, a elements, and there's one more div which has tab content. And again, you can see which is the first one is called show and active. So that means, and this link is active. So that means the first tab is the one which is being shown by default. uh, so we can see the tabs now. So home, profile, contact. Now, if you want to now make it now pills, it will look like pills. And I think now there is one more thing called where is it? Fills and justify. Yes. So now pills, now fill. So what it will do is it will expand it to fill the available space. You can see these are like typical pills. So let's put the content inside it. So let me call it home. Let me call it H1. So now you can see only home. Now I say so these are all the typical things which you generally see in any website. So this when I click profile will be shown. When you click contact will be shown. So by default, the first one that is shown will have show and active. So if you want by default to make the contact page active, you just have to add those classes to the contact content, and also the link you have to change. So what are the link? The link of the contact will have this class called active. So you can see now by default the contact will be shown, and when you click profile, home, and all. So these are the usage of tabs or navs, whatever you call them. So again, if you want to put just links, you can put links also. So the last one which we are going to look for the day is called carousel. So carousels, you might have, basically it's an image slideshow. You might have encountered it many times. So this is a carousel. So what people, so it's a slideshow. It has many options. So if you want arrows and all, you can put these things. And if you want indicators, you can use this thing. And again, let's use this thing to showcase. And if you want, like with some text and all, so you can, I mean, you might have seen any website generally has some kind of you put some images from Masai school. So here, so this is where we used it. So is it? Yeah. Yeah, you can see it now. Let's change. Okay, so put a different image. Okay, so you can see 3 different images. You can also control them by these arrows, or it can also auto cycle. So again, if you want um, if you want the time to be changed, you can add one more thing called data interval. So based on it, how much time. So you don't need to use JavaScript. You can use with the data attributes, data interval 5,000. So the number of time delay between automatically cycling. Currently by default it doesn't work with keyboard. If you want to make it work, I think by default it is working with keyboard. Yeah, default value is true. Pause on Hoover. So if set to Hoover, it will, if you put the like mouse on it, it will pause. Um, okay, so if you put touch, I mean it's default. So by in smaller mobile scales, by just swiping it, it will like move left and right. So these are the simple scenarios. Like you can see, it generally works out of the box without any JavaScript code because of the data attributes it has. I think only tooltips and popovers need this small piece of code for them to work. The rest of the things are working without any of the JavaScript code. So writing any of JavaScript code, but make sure to import the JavaScript libraries and all. So and you are in a good place. So these are the general elements which you generally use when you are working on any websites or building any products. So it is good to know them, and then you know how to use them, and then you'll be able to build any application. So, but these are the things which are very rarely used, or even if they are used very few times. So you don't have to remember all these classes names. So again, it becomes lots of classes. So you can always refer to the documentation, and like you can use them from the documentation.